who did it better? Was it John Cusack or was it Hawthorne Heights?
Well,
it was John Cusack, right? I think it was John Cusack.
Well, I mean, there's the whole, like, I don't know. I think Hawthorne Heights might have done it less creepy because there's the Dahmer what's his name? Lloyd Dobler. Is that his name?
It doesn't sound like a name, but I'll buy it.
From the movie, from Say Anything.
Lloyd Dobber.
Dauber. There's the Dahmer-Dauber effect where it's like, if what they're doing is super, if you're into it, then it's Dauber. If it's creepy, then it's Dahmer. So if she didn't enjoy that rendition with that thing out her window, it's super creepy and it's no longer romantic. Whereas Hawthorne Heights was just a shitty band from Ohio.
That's true. They pounded that into your head over and over again.
Although, to be fair, as someone who was, taught romance by all those 80s teen comedies, in retrospect, every way we were taught to be romantic and to, go out and actually, win the girl, turns out mostly super creepy.
Yeah, most all of it.
Like there's a direct line from Say Anything to You.
Jesus. I mean, you're not wrong, but that's a line that I have never really explored.
This is absolutely the farthest thing I thought I was going to be doing tonight, but you play the cards that you are dealt.
I was going to try. I was
going to try to go with a better metaphor that you could actually segue us into talking about what exactly we're here to do, but I handcuffed you.
I had a segue, but I wasn't sure if we should play the music first.
Ooh,
I'll play the music first.
Yeah,
okay, play the music
first.
So the thing that you should do, romantic comedy style or, in real life, has nothing to do with standing outside of somebody's window with a boombox. You assless chaps are a good way to go, maybe, or you get the Luther Vandross going, but playing a wicked guitar solo is always hot.
That is confirmed over decades and decades of data that has been compiled. No one has played a guitar solo and had someone say, "Ew, I didn't like that." That's probably not true, but at least
probably not true.
Not true at all. But let's go.
At
with
least
that.
the solos on our list are definitely in the "oh" category and not the "ew" category.
You say that now.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Anyway, that's what we're doing right now on the Fairly KickAss podcast.
Oh, do we get two musics? Is that what happened?
I don't know, but we didn't say our name yet.
Oh, nice. Well, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jay.
And I helped.
That is relevant because I do think that Taylor Momsen plays guitar, if memory serves.
Nice.
There we go. We brought it together, and we haven't even been in the business for 5 years now. The very first time. If you haven't gleaned from our fuckery yet, we are talking about the top 5 guitar solos of all time. There are going to be several that you've certainly heard before from tracks from popular artists, maybe less popular artists. I am curious to see what direction y'all went. We typically don't do a topic for the top 5s that's so narrow. I mean, there are only so many guitar solos, right? Like, I feel that it's almost guaranteed that there will be overlap, but I've been wrong before. So, Dan, I'll start with you. What was your kind of like your general approach to this list?
I love and hate when we do topics like this, and I love it because there's so much to go for. Because it's an area where, and I don't know how you guys felt, where you have things in mind when you talk about, your brain goes, great guitar solos, I can do this. And you have things in mind. And then you're like, but let me see what else is out there. Like, what are things that I haven't heard in forever and forgot about? What are things that I haven't come across yet that are possibly just phenomenal? And then the hate part comes because I have to narrow this list down to 5 and try to explain why these 5 got it, but like the other 12 or 13 that easily could have been justified being put at number 1 didn't. So that was sort of I started out with a list, then I did some research and made the list even bigger, and then I drowned in tremolo, And then I tried to come up with a reason for the 5 that I picked. And more often than not, when I was trying to decide between 2 songs, I went, Zach will have this one. So I'll put this on honorable mention, move something else up.
I hope so.
I knew that there's a possibility that he and I have the bigger overlap. My guess is you went in a completely different direction, Jay.
You would be correct.
Yes. Most excellent.
My tack on this one was one, I knew I was having a hard time deciding on what classic or iconic or amazing guitar solos you guys were going to put on this list. So I decided I was going to go for some unheralded guitar solos. Maybe they came from a weird place that you wouldn't expect. Maybe they are wicked because of something specific. And that is the direction that I took with it. So hopefully, I really highly doubt that there's any overlap on this list. It's not impossible, but it's not probable.
Nice.
Follow-up question to this as well, because as the only guitarist in the group, was there any element of you that also went, and also I can play this and it's a lot of fun, so I'm going to put this in my list somewhere?
Actually, well, you are on the right track, but me saying, oh, I can play that and it's a lot of fun was a reason for me to not put it on my list, because if I can play it.
Hey.
I didn't think about it that way. Yeah, I would have approached it from Dan's point of view. I didn't think about it from that side. That's
I'm a mediocre guitarist at best. I'm a rhythm guitarist for starters. I don't do solos very frequently. And when I do it badly. So if I can play it, with the exception of one of my honorable mentions, I did throw an honorable mention on here that I can play, and it's the most fun guitar solo I play. So
nice. No, you were absolutely spot on for my list, Jay. I certainly went the iconic route. You know, to me, looking at the guitar solo as not just like a person playing a guitar well, but also the addition and the improvement of a song, the thought of that song, and thinking like, this is a part that really sticks with people, that people point out and say, this song is what it is. And a lot of that is because of the solo. That was part of my reasoning. And then length, honestly, because I feel like if there's one thing that I can't stand, it's a guitar solo that is too short or too long. And I certainly have a few that are long, but that are appropriately long. And given the guitarist involved, they're ones that you kind of say, yeah, you play that thing for 30 minutes straight, and I'm just going to sit here and listen. But that's not everyone, right? So there was a lot of balance there, and I feel like I came up with some kind of on both sides of the length spectrum.
Wicked. I actually touch on that in one of the write-ups that I have for my list, although full disclosure, I do not remember which one it is. So it'll be a surprise for me too. We'll
learn together. Well, why don't you kick us off so we can get to that surprise quicker? Hit us with your number 5.
Okay. I can do that. I'll go for the one that the way I wrote it might make somebody angry to start with. So neither before nor since this has any guitarist been able to improve or even duplicate the stupidly catchy, needlessly complicated, kill switch and tremolo pedal-laden monstrosity that is what Tom Morello did on the guitar solo to Bulls on Parade. I defy you to come up with a piece of guitar music that is more iconic or era-defining than that one. It perfectly suits the song, despite the fact that no one had ever done anything like this before. It was somehow magically the perfect thing for him to have done in this song. It came out of nowhere. And it takes a particular kind of genius / talent to invent a new way to play an instrument, then do that so well that basically no one else ever tries to do it again. Lots of folks attempt to do Hendrix, and while not many can, a few have managed to come close to his style. And this is different. Hence Bulls on Parade by Rage Against the Machine is my number 5.
Now, I can't say for sure that Tom Morello as the Night Watchman has never done anything like the Bulls on Parade solo. I'm going to assume that he has not. And I want to see the person who kind of experiences Tom Morello in reverse and comes to know him from the Night Watchman first, and then is sat down to listen to, I mean, let's not stop at Bulls on Parade. Let's listen to the entirety of Evil Empire, because we're already here. Let's settle in. Let's get a bowl of popcorn and just like see the head scratching, and then the, oh, okay, I'm in. This is not what I expected, but I'm there.
Yeah.
Super, super great, and super versatile instrumentalist is Tom Morello. Great choice.
Thanks. Dan, you got anything to comment?
I was trying to put a thought together and it just wasn't coming. But I can add that it's also one of those pieces where you kind of have that moment like, oh, I remember the first time I heard this, because I remember it took me a while to pull myself back together and going, whoa, you can do that with a guitar? Fuck.
Yeah. And the answer is no, you can't.
No, I can't. No, I know. He can. Yeah, whole different story. I didn't know we could do that.
Yeah, definitely a track that I did not appreciate for its music when I was younger. For its message, absolutely. For its music, that came far, far later.
It is unfortunately still an incredibly relevant song.
God, yes, it is.
Yeah.
And there are other guitar solos in his catalog that are wicked cool as well. None relied pretty much entirely on this method of guitar soloing.
What a start. Like, you just come out just like right out of the gate with an absolute killer track.
Thanks. Who's following me up? I don't even know.
I can stick a toe in and see. It's going to be a slightly different vibe. Slightly. Extremely, like the way opposite side of the spectrum. But no difference in the amount of passion and the amount of just shredding that is come between those two tracks. It's almost unfair, because on this track you have a trumpet, you have a saxophone, and you have a trombone. There's no reason that you also need Terry Kath literally setting the guitar on fire with his ridiculous strumming on 25 or 6-4. Yeah, that wasn't the name of the song that I expected to say either. Not at all. But holy shit, does he just absolutely kill on this track. It's not easy. I'm going to assume that it's not easy to get the endorsement of best guitarist in the universe from one Jimi Hendrix. A guy we'll maybe possibly hear about a little bit later. But it's warranted, at least if this one track is to be believed, and not just this one track, certainly up and down their catalog before his untimely departure at the way too young age of 31. But Kath absolutely demolishes this track, yet still stays within the guardrails of the jazziness of the rest of the track. Peter Cetera does his thing with his mouth wired half shut from getting attacked at Dodger Stadium. That was a whole thing. And even with that, still, this guitar solo does not sound out of place. It doesn't sound like it belongs in a different song. I don't know how he walked that tightrope, but he did it so incredibly well. And this was, I think, the one that surprised me and kind of impressed me the most on this guitar solo journey that I went down.
That's another one of those moments where I went, oh, I completely forgot about that one. That was so good.
This whole show is going to be that.
I think so. There's a really good chance.
There's also, documented reason why you wouldn't think of Chicago for anything.
Not necessarily true. That is early Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Those first 5 or 6 records, they don't deserve to be called Chicago.
It was such a different vibe.
Took over. It was so. You say that, but it really was like the late 60s and early 70s Chicago is a completely different band, and then like they hit 74 and just fall off the cliff.
Right.
In my humble and correct opinion.
No, I mean it's quite literal. Like that was, I know they had changed their name from the Chicago Transit Authority by that second album where 25 or 6-4 is on, but in spirit they were still the CTA for like you said, up until the mid 70s.
And like you said, that it's a bit that just rips, and also like you said, comes out of nowhere to rip, including a time signature change there as well, and then just goes right back. It seems like it goes right back into the jazz ensemble to finish the song off. It is phenomenal.
Good stuff. Good stuff for Terry Kath.
Indeed.
Dan, I'm going to assume your number 5 is also phenomenal in its own way.
Oh, certainly, absolutely, and I'm glad you found a nice middle ground in those in our number 5s, because I was going to start even more mellow, probably more mellow than we'll probably talk about for the rest of the night, but it's fine, and it's probably not the first time I used the word ethereal to describe a solo, but that's exactly what the nearly 5 minutes of Lenny by Stevie Ray Vaughan is. It is a jazzy, bluesy piece. It's seemingly far more restrained, Vaughan, than some of his older blistering fretwork. But when you really listen to this, you realize all of his skill is prominently on display. Nothing is lacking, even if the tempo is, I guess, less slower than you'd expect at first. But he just dancing through chords, bending all over the song, dancing up and down scales. I know it's not the first place you go when someone mentions Vaughan or Double Trouble, but I would put it as a more than worthy entry for this.
Yeah, it's a nice reminder that we don't necessarily need, like, look at a track like, I don't know, Through the Fire and Flames as example. Those are great solos, don't get me wrong, and maybe they're going to end up on one of your lists. But it doesn't have to be that. It doesn't have to be a race to get to the end. It can be slower, it can be more methodical, and it can still be just as impressive and just as enjoyable. That's something that I feel like maybe a younger me wouldn't have appreciated as much, the slower tempo solo, but certainly nowadays I very much do.
I think all it takes is a whole bunch of friends who are really into Pink Floyd to really appreciate the slow solos.
No comment.
That's actually not a terrible
but Stevie Ray and a handful of others were just absolute masters at it.
Yeah.
So yeah, no notes.
Good stuff all around to start off with.
Can I make it weird?
Yes,
sure. That's
absolutely.
It's kind of what we were hoping for.
That's what I'm here for, right? That's my only role. All right. So in the category of, what was that? Comes the oddball punk stoner bluegrass tune that never seems to answer the question. What was that? That song is Dr. Geek by Melvins. This song comes in hot on the Hostile Ambient Takeover record. It follows, and this is, by the way, this is if you bought it as a record, not as the series of 7-inch vinyl that was released. But it comes in hot after the experimental feedback experience that is the end of Black Stooges. And the song starts off by shifting the guitar tone to, I think I can change the distortion to make it sound like a banjo. Oh, you don't believe me? Well, I came close enough for this bucket of weed I just sandbagged. The whole song is basically one long guitar noodling. It's fast as hell and impressively put together, but the solo is on another level. It's not just fast, but every single note of it is picked. There's no hammers, there's no tapping, there's very few bends and slides. It is very nearly an inhuman feat, and King Buzzo should win an award for his performance. And his hair. Don't forget his hair.
Yeah, that I don't know. Somehow I kind of expected you to say Melvins. I don't know why. I really
Guitar
don't.
solos are not something they're known for. That's not a thing.
Right. But I think that's what makes these so cool, is that it's the ones you least expect are, pretty fun in their own right.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if you guys would even know that song, to be perfectly honest.
To be perfectly honest, I do not.
Nope. No, sir.
It's from 2001's Hostile Ambient Takeover, their 14th studio album.
I believe they have an album coming out later this year, if memory serves.
Well, they had one that was supposed to have just dropped, but I can't find it anywhere, and I don't know if that's just my own stupidity or if they didn't release it to all platforms. I haven't done the research, if I'm being perfectly honest. It's supposed to be them and Napalm Death, I believe.
That's right. Yep. Savage Imperial Death March.
That's the one.
Yeah, if listeners, if you know the existence of this album, if you know where we can get our hands on it so we can listen to it, let us know. We'll tell you how after the show is over.
Beauty.
But I can tell y'all in the meantime about my number 4.
Yeah, let's do that.
So sometimes a song will tell a whole story, right? Like a book or a TV show or even a video game. You have all of the parts that you've come to know in your English class. You have your exposition, your conflict, your rising action, your climax. you have your falling action, and then you have your resolution or your denouement, as a reminder to myself that I went to a little bit of school. At least I learned something. It was worthwhile. But it's much, much, much rarer to get all of that, not only just in one song, but in one 40-ish second solo. But that's exactly what Alex Lifeson pulls off with aplomb, I might add, in Rush's Limelight. The guitar squeals and howls at his whim, and when it's over, you know that you just watched a hell of a battle unfold, or heard one, anyway. He absolutely takes you on a journey from, like I said, from beginning to end. There's a middle to it. There's parts. There's like, you feel like you're kind of encased within this solo, within a song that, it kind of does a pretty good job of telling its own story as it is. Just like the Terry Kath solo, it's, I would say this is even more in place within the confines of the song. It feels more as if it's just a part of the motif, a part of the theme. It's so, so beautiful. Obviously, Rush more known for rightfully so, showcasing the talent of the late, great Neil Peart and his drumming, just as much as the golden vocals of one Geddy Lee. But Alex Lifeson absolutely more than held his own, and Limelight is just one of many, many examples of that.
I don't have an argument to what you said, except for the very last part, where you said that there's many, many examples of that. I would argue that there's only a handful of examples of that. I don't have a problem with Alex Lifeson's solos. I think they're noisy as hell, and I love that. But very few of them, I think, suit what he was trying, or what the song was trying to do. Limelight is one of the very few for me where that's like, oh, that's the one. So like, I'm not arguing with your pick. I think it's a great pick. You could have said maybe that, or maybe Working Man, and I would have listened to it. But there's not very many others.
Yeah, those two would be 1 and 1A. Like if you had to pick a Rush, Alex Lifeson solo, it's going to be one of those two, right?
Probably.
There maybe are other examples, but I think those are the best.
I mean, I got no notes. I'll just take this off my honorable mentions and we'll move on.
Oh, hell yeah. Very nice.
Nice.
Well, what didn't quite make your honorable mentions in the good way, because it ended up on your number 4.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I want to keep it bluesy for a little while longer and look to one of the modern innovators, the king, if you will. It's legit hard to narrow it down to just one, but I will have to go with B.B. King and The Thrill Is Gone for number 4. I was going to say the solo from The Thrill Is Gone. And yes, more than it is great, but his guitar does so much throughout the entire song. It's really hard to narrow that time down so the whole thing should fit. But throughout that solo, I mean, just the pitches and the bends and the lyrical cries that he gets out of Lucille, just all tremendous. And to add to the weight of the track too, The Thrill Is Gone was a track written like 20 years before he got his hands on it. And because King put his stamp on it, it's become a blues standard. And while many have tried, only King made it his, and it's that signature sound.
Signature. Yeah, that's if there's one word that I could think of to describe B.B. King, it is signature. It's like you said, he did this exact thing on so many other tracks. Like, how do you pick just one track? And B, how do you pick just one? Like, how do you even call it a solo? It's not like denigrating the song at all, but it's just like there's like the whole thing is just kind of a solo because he's just so damn talented.
Yeah. And I feel like that's, I mean, a problem with a lot of those iconic guitarists like that. Like you wind up with where everything is a guitar solo. So how do you separate? I almost made the same comment when you brought up Through the Fire and Flames too. Like, is that a guitar solo or is that just the song? Like, that's the whole premise, right? But no, I mean, the guitar work on Thrill Is Gone is wonderful.
I guess that almost kind of brings up something else we probably would have thought about and you're considering is, when is the solo the song and the song? Nope. When is the solo part of the song or the song? And where do you kind of balance that? Like it's one of those reasons, like, as I was listening through, and you're like, well, the stuff that Joe Satriani does is insane, but like it's the song.
It's an instrumental guitar piece.
Right. And I say that having put an instrumental guitar piece at number 5.
Like the solo of Theseus, yeah.
Solo of Theseus.
Is that the new Steve Vai record?
Oh, I hope. I'm in. Is that your number 3? Maybe was off that new record.
Oh God, no.
A new record that doesn't exist.
No, I kept it. I kept it real with what my track was here. My number 3. Okay, so Josh Homme, his solos are always pretty much seem like they're taking a piss with you in the best way possible. They're usually almost cartoonish.
I was gonna say, you mean the British metaphor of
yes,
taking, okay.
Taking
Not
the piss.
actually standing next to you in the urinal.
Not taking a piss, taking the piss.
Thank you.
100% the visual I had, Dan.
Okay, good. Because it'd be very hard to take a leak with someone soloing like right here. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Maybe you need that. We're not here to judge. What is particularly awesome about Homme's solo on Song for the Dead off the album Songs for the Deaf is that it's a piss take and also really technically badass. It's the best of both worlds. So the guitar sound has his signature slide whistle tonality in keeping with the rest of that record. It skips beats and stumbles articulately through like stoned blues licks, manages to somehow be cartoonish and deadly serious. The rest of the song has these little guitar licks between each phrase of the verses, sung by Mark Lanigan. And that makes it that much more of a breath of fresh air when he finally lets the guitar out of the cage at the 2:55 mark. It's the perfect accompaniment to the song. It's wild and it's weird and it's beautiful. Not for nothing, but this song also has one of the best intros as well, with a one-note guitar part and a haphazard jigsaw of a drum part. Worth your time.
I think that's super fun. Like, because at least for my list, there are a lot of solos that come in, like you said, in the middle of the song, and then like the rest of the track is kind of dotted with a little bit of extra sauce, a little bit of a guitar lick here and there where there wasn't one prior to the solo. It sounds like for this track that it's almost the opposite. For this track, it's called Song for the Dead. I know how to listen. I know how to read. For Song for the Dead, it sounds like it's almost in reverse. That it's like Homme is teasing that solo, like, nope, not yet, and then finally lets it rip.
Yeah,
super cool.
I also love the description of it because it, as you mentioned, it kind of doesn't fit a single description for a guitar solo. Like you can't just put it in this box. And
right.
it's this, or it melds a couple of styles in there. Cartoonish is one I did not expect to describe that, but that actually, yeah, that just say it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does that a lot too. Where like honestly like the first one I thought of from Queens of the Stone Age to add to this list was Little Sister, but then I thought about it a little more, and I thought, well, that's a cool solo. That is a really cool solo. But this one has more of a technical prowess to it, as well as that really just oddball, off the wall sound that makes it so cool.
Yeah, the Little Sister solo is like just super playful and just whimsical almost. But yeah, I would say that Song for the Dead solo is objectively better.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
And I named one you knew.
That might be the last one. I don't know. We'll see.
Yep. Well, maybe.
I'll say it. Knowing me.
Well, which one are you going to talk about for your number 3?
So at number 3 is a guitarist who I think, Jay, you and I both talked about very recently, if memory serves, back in September of last year, in fact. Thanks to the release of his album Luck and Strange. But he has been one of the most premier guitarists on earth for a very, very long time, and for good reason. Some guitarists attack with speed or technical prowess, and certainly David Gilmour can do both of those things. He also deals in pure emotion. And I feel like the emotive factor is one that even some of the best solos just don't have, because how do you train that? How do you teach it? And how do you learn it as a guitarist? You just either have it or you don't. And Gilmour clearly has it. I had to go with the standard. I had to go with the one of one, the track that probably more publications than I care to read about put this as the best guitar solo of all time. It was from Comfortably Numb. If I have one quibble about the solo, it's that it comes from a track named Comfortably Numb. I don't really feel like the solo is comfortable or numb for the reasons I mentioned. Again, it's not quick paced. It's not going to, run a marathon. Well, it is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's absolutely a marathon. It's winding, it's meandering, but it's one of those that, is longer on my list, but you really don't want it to stop because it's just so pleasant, but there's so much behind the curtain that you can just feel. You don't even have to hear it. You just feel this solo. The whole track is great, but this is one where the solo 100% outshines the rest of the track and really is the most iconic part of the track, for my money, by far. Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things, like, I'm not a huge Floyd fan, so when I'm listening to anything of theirs, I want the guitar solos. That's what I want from them. And Gilmour is brilliant. And that is probably my favorite as well. I hadn't put a lot of thought into it, truthfully. I probably should have for this episode, but that is probably my favorite of his solos.
And just to add to something that you had mentioned about his ability to play with emotion, and I think that's also one of those things that not only sets him apart, obviously, as you talked about, but it's also what has helped that band evolve into what we think of as Floyd. Because when he comes in, that band makes a pretty clear break, even though they were still doing things that you could call psychedelic for a couple records afterwards. When he comes in and Syd Barrett leaves, his style of playing kind of guides the band as a whole. Even if anyone else is writing the song, when they put it in his hands, he brings. It's so cliche to say it, but he brings the heart into it, no matter what the track is or what it's about.
And he's also a model.
We could all be so lucky, to be fair. No one wants to be modeling anything ever for any reason. Yeah, totally agree with both of you. It's almost I would say two different bands, but certainly two different vibes to the same band. And I prefer the Gilmour version, to be honest.
Yep. Me too.
Dan, what did you prefer at your number 3?
There are so many great stories in music that boil down to something amazing happening, and it becomes like a landmark piece. And it totally wasn't supposed to be, or it wasn't supposed to happen. And it feels like those are actually really common. Sometimes you're just warming up in the studio and the producer is like, we need to put that on tape. And that's pretty much what happened for Eddie Van Halen on the way to Eruption. It is one of those moments where you don't have to know all about the guitar and all the technical aspects of playing it. You just put the record on and you sit in awe of the work that Eddie's fingers are doing. There's nothing more synonymous with the technique of tapping than an Eruption, probably, which is exactly what the solo does, and keeps pounding you over and over with the wheelie, 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 wheelies that became his like sound, and kind of the sound of hard rock for most of the 80s. And if that wasn't enough, we mentioned earlier, but he messes with the timing in that section, in the middle of phrasing, changing the notes just to take the difficulty all the way to 11, as if he really needed to. I don't even know how you'd notate some of those. My music theory doesn't go anywhere near where it would need to truly lay out what makes Eruption so good from that aspect. So instead I'll just go with, it's a ripping minute 42 on the Van Halen album and should be played at maximum volume for full appreciation and rocking.
Agreed. And you could call it the guitar solo too. You Really Got Me if you wanted to.
True.
If you wanted to. I don't, but you could if you wanted to.
No, and I think, and that's the disconnect, I think, because like you said, like one of those, if you bought the record, it's the guitar solo that You Really Got Me. And if you didn't, you just heard the track completely separate because there was probably a clear break somewhere on your MP3 player.
Yeah, I think didn't most radio stations play those two together as well?
Yeah,
Probably.
back to back.
Yeah.
As far as the like time signature breaks, this is me being a cynic and having played with a whole bunch of lead guitarists. That may not have been intentional. All of the people who follow him, who follow his footsteps and want to play like him, none of them have any rhythm. I don't know that that's true of him.
Right.
I really don't.
Could be. I was doing things so fast I got lost where I was at.
Yep.
Easy to do with the speed that Bro is tapping.
Right.
Yeah, sure. No knocks, just laying it out there.
I mean,
spread it out in a nutshell for you.
It certainly isn't the first person. He did not invent finger tapping. I mean, let's just say that right then and there. That goes to the late great Niccolo Paganini back in the 1800s. However, you're not going to see a lot of people looking up Niccolo Paganini videos on YouTube to try to learn how to do this. You are going to see people pulling up videos about Eruption by Eddie Van Halen. This, I mean, it certainly is the standard for that technique.
And never let it be said that we don't do our research here at the Fairly KickAss podcast.
We do it while we're talking.
Shut up.
Throw that fourth wall right in the trash. Oh gosh. Speaking of walls, Jay, is your number 2 solo a wall of sound, or is it something a little softer?
Oh God, a wall of sound is a great way to describe this song. Actually, that's really good. And that actually brings me to a point about this track, because sometimes it isn't just about what the guitar is doing. I mean, I know we're talking about the solos, but what the rest of the band does during that solo matters. And on Ghost Walking by Lamb of God, not only is the guitar solo super cool and inventive, but the rhythm section boosts it by changing tempos and time signatures and all the tonal elements of the solo. It shifts. There's like 3 different parts, and the solo's going over the top of all 3 of them. The solo starts at about the like 256 in the song, right after this just absolutely crushing bridge. And it runs for 30 seconds, which solves the second problem that solos tend to have, particularly in the metal music milieu, and that is that they become masturbatory. And this song is, this solo is short, to the point, and sick as shit.
You make an interesting point with that, though. And I question, everyone's got to have that line, right? Like there's a way, there's a point where you could be doing what you're doing and it be unbelievably amazing. And you pass a certain point and everyone's like, okay, cool. Like, you want to just get back to the, no? Okay. We'll hang out here for a little bit longer.
Yeah. And I'm sure that somewhere is an example of that. We haven't hit that on this list yet. I'm kind of surprised, because my threshold for guitar solos is probably less than what you might expect.
I was wondering, yeah.
As far as like I'll just use that word again, masturbatory. As far as that goes, like where the songs, it becomes indulgent and unlistenable, for lack of a better phrase, we'll call that the nooge. There's a number of guitarists that do that. We're like, oh, that's a really cool idea. And then when are you going to stop?
Right.
We haven't hit that yet with our list. So I congratulate you both on not finding that threshold for me. Not that that's your goal, nor should it be. That's my ego talking.
There's time.
That's right.
But no, you bring up a really cool point, just to backtrack a little bit, of like when these solos are happening, it's not just a guitar with nothing else usually, in some rare cases, but like you said, what the rest of the band does matters. And that's really cool that, this is, I didn't even think about that, honestly, when I was going through my list, and I should have. I feel like it was a miss for a lot of these tracks, and is making me want to not rethink this list, but reconsider the choices. And I don't think I would do anything different, but I think it would just make it more interesting.
Yeah, and I don't think you would change anything either, because honestly, like everything that you've picked so far fits into this thing too. Like if you picture what's going on in Comfortably Numb in the background, it enhances what Gilmour's doing. Absolutely. Right? And part of what you're hearing and what makes you like that solo so much is what the other instruments are doing. And in the case of Van Halen, the other instruments just decided not to be there. And so he could shine on Eruption.
Right.
That gives credit to the songwriting then too, is the recognizing, okay, this is what you're going to do, and and then we can do this, and that boosts you this, and collaborative creativity, maybe.
Yeah, when it works, it works.
It's true. Right. When it doesn't, it's nooch.
Sorry, I was more worried about getting those two words out correctly consecutively than actually finishing my thought.
No, you crushed it.
Now it's all gone.
Better than I could have done with those words. That's why I say the small ones.
What small words did you use to write the script for your number 2 song?
2 of them specifically, both one syllable, and both, dare I say, the most important words on this entire podcast. Those words, you know them. Oh, I thought you were going to say, of course, it's rule 1.
Oh, okay.
It's rule 1, but not at number 1 for a change. Because while I certainly could have facilitated putting a Prince song at number 1 of pretty much any list that we do here on this podcast, I wanted to mix it up a little bit. So I guess call this a 1 and 1A, but technically we have to put it in an order. So this is the true number 2. I feel like there could have been and are other songs that maybe are better solos. In fact, there's one of my honorable mentions that I think is a much better solo that I didn't include for reasons I'll get to later. But sometimes you got to be a homer. Sometimes you just got to go with your favorite. Very similar to the David Gilmour solo in the emotive sense, and the perfect track for the film soundtrack of the same name. Of course, talking about none other than Purple Rain. Talking about length of solo and also talking about the whole song is kind of a solo. I don't know that applies here necessarily, but at least the second half of the song is essentially solo or solo adjacent. But it's Prince, and he can play guitar for 3 years, and I would not complain one time, because it's the perfect combination of emotion and just pure unadulterated skill. He wails away in G minor pentatonic and just very occasionally includes some more modal notes like the minor 6. And if you even think for a second that I wrote or thought of any of that myself and didn't lift it from a Guitar World article, then I've got some prime beachfront property in Kansas that you may be interested in. I will pull up that listing right now, and hopefully you pull up some Purple Rain in the background while you read through it.
Yeah.
I'm going to scroll upwards real quick here. And I'm just going to read exactly what I wrote. And I wrote this a couple hours ago. From the honorable mentions, only because I figured Zach would have it there, I didn't want to overload my list with one artist.
You know me too well, my friend.
Well, I mean, it was going to be a thing. And maybe we overrated a little bit because of the amazing thing that he did in Miami to take what was on the record and make it truly unforgettable and that night. But yeah, you said it all. I can't add anything else. Just add in that emotional point that you guys have been making, being the emotive driver at the end of that song, even more so than maybe his vocals were for the first half of it.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
It's a slow starter for sure, but when it finishes, whew.
And truthfully, I was thinking if we all avoided it for the reason that we thought everybody else was going to put it on here, then it would just wind up being the last thing we talk about anyhow.
We've done that before.
We have. But no, I think you slotted it in at the right spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's well, we'll get into the other thing before I jump the gun a little bit. Dan, what did your number 2 jump? I don't know. I tried.
And it's okay. It's okay. I was trying to figure out how best to put it, because we're gonna travel down the same road, but I'm gonna be in the right lane, and you can be in the left lane on that one. And I don't even know if this is allowed, but fuck it, it's my list. I'm gonna include 2 artists doing the same song if I want to.
Whoa.
And it's very rare when one of the true masters creates a piece only for another master to take it and somehow improve it in ways that the writer and the original player probably hadn't imagined. Which is to say that my number 2 song belongs now to Rule 1. Originally, the best piece of music off the White Album, and I said it, and you can fight me later, and then taken to a whole nother universe at the 2004 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Solo number 2 is While My Guitar Gently Weeps, written by George Harrison, performed on the record by Eric Clapton, and then blown out of the water by Prince. First, on the original, Eric Clapton does exactly what it says in the song title. It just makes his acts cry. It's the sound that became the emotional center of that song, and something we keep unintentionally returning to, because that wasn't going to be like a theme on my list, but we keep coming back to it. Harrison gets a ton of praise for his songwriting on the track, and it's well earned, but it's a solo that becomes the standout there and one of the most recognized pieces of fretwork that Clapton did, with its bluesy wails and that harder rock phrasing. But wait, there's more. Because when it came time to induct Harrison into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, a galaxy of those guitar masters would come together to play a signature tune. And on that stage was Tom Petty and Steve Winwood and Jeff Lynne, and they were all there until about 3 minutes into the performance, and a spotlight comes on, and then it's only Prince. And everybody else is just going to go ahead and play out and just let the man work. And me describing it does not do it justice. It won't do it justice. I know we have tried before in other things that we've talked about. So just go find it. Go to YouTube, find it, like it, put it in your favorites, because you're going to keep going back to that again and again. It is truly breathtaking.
One of my favorite videos on YouTube, actually. I watch it all the time.
And honestly, back to it all the time, yeah.
My favorite thing is Tom Petty's face when Prince just doesn't stop. It's priceless. He's laughing. He's like just like trying to get a better view at what Prince is doing. It's amazing.
Yeah, I had mentioned when talking about Purple Rain that there was a better Prince song that I had in my honorable mentions, and Dan knocked it out of the park.
Boot.
Didn't want to include it just based on my own rules, because
cover
of the
/ live version.
Yeah, those two things exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure I would have probably held to that rule, but then I went and broke the rule because it is my list.
Because it's Prince.
Yeah, it's also Prince.
Rule number 1 trumps the other rules.
That always does.
And what better track to break it on? Holy shit.
Oh yeah, no arguments here. Honestly, you could have left the George Harrison guitar part on there for my, like, that's fine. We all know, I mean, we know how I feel about George Harrison and the Beatles. We talked about that in a previous episode. Best songwriter in the group. Anyway.
Is that even a hot take? I mean, that's just a good take. Anyway.
I get pushback when I say things like that.
Hey, I thought I was expecting some for saying best piece of music on that record, but okay.
No, it's easily the best piece of music on that record.
Cool.
But yeah, this, like you said, it's just a masterclass of Prince doing the things that I feel like a lot of people, even as popular and as in the zeitgeist as Prince was at that point, maybe didn't realize he could get down like that until that moment.
It might have been the thing that kind of opened everyone's eyes at that point. And the more I'm thinking about it and playing it over my head, the more I go back to it. Because if you really, through the first like minute or two, maybe the first minute and a half, he's playing the original, but he's Princing in between. I don't know how else to put it. You know what I mean? Like, he's playing the same, he's got the phrasing, he's got this, that's down, but he's also on top of it and playing around it and underneath it. And not just when he like fell off the stage and is being surfed by his bodyguards. Like, he's all around the original line, and then just gets to a point. He's like, I'm going to do me. Boom.
Taking off the tarp. Yeah. Princing, by the way, the exact opposite of Don Henleying for those longtime fans. Never shall the two be confused.
And if you want to hear us talk about Don Henley, you should probably roll back an episode or two in the feed here to our experimental worst songs when we did the Eagles to figure out which was truly the shittiest of their shit.
Ugh.
God, we landed on some shit, didn't we?
We did find some. Yeah, we definitely did.
Oh boy. Well,
luckily, you know what?
After you, my friend, after you.
But as we talked about before, there was a lot of shit that we talked about that wasn't shit at all. In fact, it was some shit that deserved to be honorably mentioned. So I figured I would throw it around to ask some of y'all what else deserved to be mentioned.
I can give you, mine is a very short list because I narrowed it down to the stuff that I was really thinking about as sort of like the other examples of the type of thing I was looking into. The most straightforward, like one that would probably land on somebody's list, maybe not one of yours, but somebody's list would be Alive by Pearl Jam. It's a killer guitar solo, and a lot of people find that iconic. I do as well, but it didn't meet the rest of my criteria. Also in a similar vein would be Stranger Things Have Happened from Foo Fighters. It's an acoustic guitar solo and incorporates a lot of chording and oddball notes, which made it this list adjacent for me. Also, The Way I Walk by The Cramps. Not one people think of a lot as great guitar solos, but Poison Ivy had I don't give a fuck mentality when it came to delivering her guitar solos. And this, The Way I Walk is probably the best example of that. Then in the world of, hey, I want to see if I can throw a hip hop track on the list of guitar solos. I struggled with this one a little bit, but I went with Gasoline Dreams by Outkast. As in the entire back, it's track 2 on Stankonia, if you're trying to think back to it. And the entire backdrop to the song is a guitar lead.
I attempted the same thing in my head. I couldn't get the bat off the shoulder there. So yeah, you definitely won that prize for the hip hop.
There's a handful of songs from them. Like Bombs Over Baghdad is another one where the guitar solo is killer toward the end.
At the end, yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
I could also have gone with Beastie Boys and No Sleep Till Brooklyn, but that's Kerry King and it's weird as shit. Like I almost went that route.
No, I think you made the right play.
I think so too. I had fun.
Yeah, good stuff with the Live too. That's one that's like you said, Dan, that song. I forgot all about that. So yeah, that's definitely as iconic as a solo as it is, completely forgot about it for this list. Good stuff.
It's the 90s child in me. I'd never forget that solo.
You gotta have one in there, right?
Yeah. What is in there for you?
The 90s child in me went a slightly weirder route and went, instead of the Pearl Jam route, went the Smashing Pumpkins route. Again, a band that I didn't expect to say today. Ciara Brock is a truly rockin' solo by James Iha. It's not going to win any awards, but it's just fun. I dig it. What else do we got I've got a bunch, so I won't go through all of them, but I'll go through the ones that are, I guess, a little bit off the beaten path. Bert Navir of The Knack. I know that My Sharona is seen as like a silly, goofy song, but that solo kills. That solo is so fucking good. Another one that that Dan and I love for other reasons that are a complete inside joke that we can't get into. Hold the Line by Toto. Steve Lukather just demolishes this track. If anything, this solo is one of the few I feel like on my list that is too short. I feel like this could be another 10 or 15 seconds and I would love it even more. But still great for what it is. And then a double, since Dan, you had a sort of double, I had a sort of double too. And that's the duo of Glenn Tipton towards the middle and KK Downing towards the very end of the Judas Priest song Painkiller. Two fairly different solos in the same song, yet somehow they still work and somehow they still come together and somehow they still absolutely shred. So yeah, that's a shout out to the homie Bert as well. This is one of their favorite tracks. And yeah, I could see why. It's a good song. It's a good band.
Wicked.
Dan, where do you sit in your honorable mentions?
Well, I'm trying to run through my list to tick things off. So let me see. Purple Rain goes off. Bulls on Parade. Comfortably Numb. I will keep killing the name of, because I think that's another one of those that also has that ridiculously unique sound from Morello. But again, there's so many of them. I didn't want to a bigger list. I would have included the Beatles in something, but also I didn't want to do the same artist twice on the list. We talked about Hendrix. You have to recognize All Along the Watchtower. The one that I went in thinking I was going to have a spot for that just got pushed off because I was like, I've got to leave Metallica spot, right? Like their foundation is their original foundation is built on ridiculously good solos. And then other things kept coming in, but I will go battery because between the speed and harmonics, just phenomenal. Got to show some love to Randy Rhoads for Crazy Train. I will take a little bit of since you were talking about solos becoming masturbatory, but sometimes that's well worth it. And I wanted a little bit of prog credit. So I would go with Fifth of Firth from Genesis.
Whoa.
Right? And that's the problem. I also didn't know how I felt about that, but I thought I liked it enough at least to bring it up.
Okay. I see you.
Right? Don't go too far with that, though. You did mention the fun and cartoonish solo, and I wanted to add the outro for I Believe in a Thing Called Love from the Darkness.
Oh,
because that's exactly how that wraps up. But we can add in, I couldn't get a hip-hop track, but let's get funky, jazzy funky with Funkadelic and Maggot Brain. And then I wrote it, I'm putting off because I wrote a joke to go with my one, and I don't know if I wanted to do it. In fact, let's not do it, but let's just throw the Allman Brothers Band Jessica on there.
Yeah, I didn't want to leave you out to dry with the masturbatory stint, Dan. So I will add to my list "Stone in Love" by Journey, because Neil Schon absolutely masturbates. I guess if that's the term we're going with, he masturbates all over that track. It's not. I wouldn't call it good, but I do adore that song. It's probably my favorite Journey song.
Oh, I would also claim that. While like you brought up Justin Hawkins, right? Like everything from the Darkness is like the guitar work is amazing, but everything about that band is masturbatory. So I don't know.
Oh, yeah, true.
Do I smell a Vibes episode coming in? Masturbation and modern music coming to a podcast near you.
We're gonna have to title that very carefully.
It's a panel at this year's College Music Journal Festival.
Oh my God. Gonna get thrown out like fucking jazz on Fresh Prince.
But I think we're gonna be having two different conversations.
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
And some folks will be having both of those conversations at once.
Right. But I one thing I will guarantee is that the next top 5 that Fairly KickAss podcast does will not be the top 5 songs to fap to. We're just not going to do that.
Yeah, I don't like that plan.
No.
Wouldn't that all be Maxwell?
Oh, no. Oh, that's so true. That whole discography.
And then I accidentally turned my camera off at that moment. Like,
I wasn't going to say anything. It was like, did you say that and then want to virtually duck anything being thrown, so you turned your camera off?
Oh man, I got nothing.
Well, you got something, Jay. You do have one more thing.
Yeah, I got one more. My number. Well, we just kept going. Zach was trying to bring us back on track. It just wasn't happening.
Me of all people. That's when you know it's bad. Anyway, you're number one.
Okay, number one. And I will. There's a caveat here, is that I didn't actually put these in any particular order, so they're all so different that it was impossible for me to rank them by the level of guitar solo here. With that being said, I absolutely love this guitar solo. It is not surprising that Frank Zappa would show up on a list related to a category involving technical skills. And he shows up here mostly because of the tack I chose for creating my top 5 list, but not solely for that reason. Montana is an undeniably goofy song with a killer drum piece and a bass line and Munchkin adjacent choruses, like chorus lines in the background and the foreground and all over the track. But from about the 2-minute mark to the 3.5-minute mark, we are granted a reprieve, I guess. It's the wrong word because you don't need one. You don't need relief. But we're sort of granted this reprieve from Frank's dollar store Barry White croon about raising dental floss and drinking coffee while riding a pygmy pony about this big. When he moves to Montana, he's going to do all that. That reprieve comes in the form of one of the rippinest guitar solos you could ever want. It feels a little bluesy and a little funky and a lot of out of place, but mostly it just rips.
I will say that the dental floss market is was probably fairly ripe in the mid 70s. So the man had a plan. I got to give him that.
Well, he had his own dental floss bush in Montana.
It's what we all aspire for. Maybe the in Montana part can be left out. Maybe we can put it in like a cooler state. And I'm allowed to say that because I've been to Montana. It was boring it was beautiful, but it was boring as shit. It was like one McDonald's and that was it.
Well, you should have had a pygmy pony.
I wish I did. I wish I knew.
Drinking coffee.
No one told me. It was a work trip and no one told me any of this ahead of time. Otherwise, I would have packed differently. I would have taken another 2 suitcases.
And some gleaming tweezers for whatever reason.
Ooh.
Listen, Frank Zappa's lyrics are not on trial here.
No, it's the ones you least expect are the funnest solos, I feel like. Because just lyrically, this song does not deserve a solo, especially one that slaps. And yet.
Right. It's so good.
Well, you kept it weird, and I do appreciate that. I really do, because I didn't want all of us to be like, oh, Pink Floyd and David Gilmour and Prince and Jimi Hendrix. Like, someone had to mix it up a little bit.
That someone is Frank Zappa.
Thank you, Frank Zappa, for your contribution.
All right. What contribution are you bringing to the top of the list?
Well, I was sitting here as you were talking about dental floss bushes and reading through my notes and realizing that it was one of those moments that you hate every single thing that you wrote about a topic. I wasn't necessarily in a hurry, so I don't know why I hate what I wrote, but I just don't like it. So I'm going to chop and screw it a little bit and see what we come out with. The nice thing about it is that I don't have to do much explaining, because this is a seminal track in music, not in rock music, not in guitar solos, although those 2 things are true, but in music in general, and presented by a seminal musician whose picture book actually lives on my coffee table as we speak. I will be thumbing through it later today, because it's been a while since I have visited the greatness that is one Jimi Hendrix. The song is not Voodoo Child, because that's a different song. It's not Voodoo Child Slight Return, because he would sometimes write it down as that, and there are some versions of different releases that have it listed as that in the track list. Jimmy, I'm not going to tell the man to be consistent. He can be whatever the hell he wants to be. And he was an absolute maniac on Voodoo Child Slight Return. We're talking about one of, if not the greatest guitarist in history. I could put a list of his discography up on the wall and throw a dart, and that would be the song. And y'all would be like, yeah, of course. I mean, it's a great song. It's great solos. It's absolutely resplendent. I did kind of chuckle to myself when I misread just reading some remarks about this song made by Joe Satriani, who was mentioned earlier. And my misreading led me to think that this song was called A Bacon of Humanity by Mr. Satriani. I quickly saw that he did not say that, but I kind of clamped onto that, because bacon is awesome, and this song is awesome, and the solo of this song is awesome. Again, this being one of those, like, anytime he picks up a guitar, it's kind of a solo already. So yeah, Bacon of Humanity, whatever. To Satriani's credit, I will mention another quote from him as well, where he said that the whole song could be considered the holy grail of guitar expression and technique. And that's coming from someone who is already kind of a master of the craft in his own right. I don't know that I could say it better than Joe did. Jimmy, like I mentioned earlier, said that Terry Kath was the best in the universe. He famously once said, when asked if he thought he was the best guitarist in the world, he said maybe the best guitarist is sitting in this chair. Clearly a man who had humility in the same equal doses as he had just pure unadulterated skill.
Indeed. And honestly, when thinking about this list, that was the first song I thought of.
Oh, wow.
Was Voodoo Child. Interestingly enough, however, and don't read too much into this, but it was the 10-minute instrumental version performed by Kenny Wayne Shepherd.
Oh, I bet that was dope. I haven't heard that.
He released it on disc. I think it was the B-side to something in the late 90s. I can't remember exactly what it was. I had it, but it is, however, a CD, and those are in my attic somewhere. So I can't remember. It's the B-side to something that he released in the late 90s. But it is wicked. It's also 10 minutes long, all guitar.
I'm in. Say less.
Okay, I'll stop.
No, it's a figure of speech. That's what the kids say. They probably don't even say that anymore.
Bet.
We're boomers. What can you do?
Make all of them cringe by using their lingo. Anyway,
it's my favorite.
Moving on.
Time.
They think it slaps when we do that. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's the bee's knees.
By the way, it was Blue on Black.
Was it the B-side to Blue on Black?
Correct.
Right on.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if it was like Blue on Black or like Everything is Broken or something along those lines. But yeah, that makes sense.
Well, Dan, what bop do you have at your number one to round us out?
Do I have to?
I think so.
Well, I mean, after the two of you went number one, I looked at mine and I'm like, yeah, it deserves to be in this, but it's such the easy way out. And
did you somehow put Prince at number 2 and number 1?
No. I went even more so the easy way out for a list like this, because I went with the consensus on a lot of my research, and I think it's what everyone is expecting someone to say. So let's do it. It's Bohemian Rhapsody. Brian May's Ripper at the end there. But I feel like, again, I just taken the easy way out. I mean, y'all know why it was good. It's not like no one's not heard that song.
True. Literally every human in the world has heard that song.
Yeah, I believe it's the first thing you get at the border.
I will at least say I feel like
the doctor slaps you and then plays Bohemian Rhapsody for you, so it's like the first thing.
Everyone's first memory as a child.
I think every baby's first word is Scaramouche, and that's what you. And then the doctor says, "Yeah, do the fandango, bitch," and then that's your life.
And then boom, there you go.
At least because there were two songs that could have been based on your description. I'm glad you picked the better of the two songs. Agreed. And the better of the two solos.
Oh no! What was?
Did you also think he was going to go Stairway?
I did 100%.
Oh yeah,
it was pre-cringe. Like, it's on my honorable mentions because it is what it is.
Yeah, I think that's the reverse instance. We all like everyone's going to say Stairway, so we can't say Stairway, and I'm gonna like. It's fine.
Yeah, it's like it's fine.
I can't say Stairway for personal reasons, mostly because
that fight with the hedgerow. I understand.
Right. Listen, when there's a bustle. But for the most part, the real problem is once I learned that Jimmy Page, let's say, borrowed like 75% of the guitar parts that he used. I question how much of that was him. Now, he played it, so credit where credit's due. All of that is his fingers doing the work, but I don't know how I feel about that. So, no, I applaud you for going Bohemian Rhapsody instead.
Yeah, 100% the right choice between the two of those.
Absolutely.
All right. I mean, I do still feel like it's a little boring comparatively, but it's cool.
And maybe it's a little boring conversationally too. Like if you had swapped your numbers 1 and 2, we would be having a different conversation right now at the end of this episode. I'm just saying.
You have no idea how close I came to doing that.
Oh man,
But I was like, it also the fact that Zach went in with his number 2 at Purple Rain. I was like, yeah, just leave it.
Yeah,
you just gotta go with it. Any way the wind blows.
Yeah. It's true. Nothing really matters.
Nope, not at all.
I'm not doing it.
Nope, I was hoping we gave you enough to segue into the plugs so we could get the hell out of here.
Well, man, and the problem is this pod had just begun too. At least it feels like it, But all the good things do have to come to an end. But your listening doesn't, because we have so many other episodes of this podcast. Eventually, if you listen to them all, you would come to the end of the Fairly KickAss podcast. But that's going to take you a really, really long time. So why not start? Wherever you find your podcast, you're going to find this one. Wherever you're listening right now, if you're hanging out with a pal who's listening to the podcast, first and foremost, that pal has exceptional taste. And secondly, just you don't even have to ask them. Just search for it on your podcast provider of choice, and you're going to find it. Some examples: YouTube Music, my personal favorite nowadays, Apple Music, and I don't know, Spotify, I guess, our original home. Speaking of, Spotify has a lot more stuff, since that was where we were exclusive for a long time for the podcast. So if you want 4 years, yeah, holy shit, time flies. So if you want some of the older episodes, we are slowly bringing those over to all of the providers. But if you want to skip the line and go check those out, those also are interspersed with music, whereas our current podcast is not, as most of you know already. As always, let us know what you thought about this episode. We talked about 15 and change solos. There are so many others that we didn't bring up, and we want to hear about them. We want to hear what we missed, what we either didn't have time to get on the show, or what we just completely forgot about. You can do that at Fairly KickAss on Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. You can reach out to us via email at fairlykickass@gmail.com. And since we can't intersperse the music with these episodes, you will unfortunately have to go the ride-along playlist route, all of which you can find on our website at fairlykickass.com. And with that, boys, anything that you'd like to say before we shuffle off?
Oh, man, there's so many, like, I don't know. If the guitar solo is the reason you like the song, that's enough of a reason to like the song. That was an incredibly stupid thing to say.
But it's true. But it's true.